recruitment, and so on. So we're really excited about that part of Bridgio coming up. Right. So I showed your students today quickly how we've been focusing on India as our second biggest market after China. So there are many schools in which we work, with which we work in India, and of course there have been some changes that we had to bring so that the platform could be more easily used by students and by administrators here. So one big change was the support for the national curriculum. So now students that take the CBSE or the ISC can input their grades directly. Previously they had to input a GPA before they could get the matches, and it's very difficult to convert that to GPA. So that now is possible. And the other bit that we have added is the Indian university data. So there are now over 11,000 top Indian colleges in the platform that students can browse through, and they can browse through different criteria. So for the grades, for your CBSE students, it's pretty straightforward. As they go to build their profile, which is what we do the matching for, they can choose their curriculum from the list of educational options, and then they will just be adding their grades, possibly their predicted grades, which they might be asking directly to you. The whole point of giving students the predicted grades to input in the profile builder is that the matching happens based on those grades. So if they do not have the grade to get into a certain university, that option won't come up. So it's important for them to have realistic grades put in the system. They can change them, they can play around with it, and they can see what happens if I put a higher grade, right? And what kind of opportunities unlock. It might motivate them to work harder, but it has to be achievable, right? So if I'm in grade 12 already, probably I don't have a lot of time to work on my grade as much as I could do in grade 11. So that's where also teachers can help in helping students understand realistically what will be the grades by the time they graduate. And yeah, in terms of Indian university data, for students, it also starts again in the profile builder where they express interest in countries that they want to go to. That's where they can select India. And then they can access the Indian University portal. Now, because the Indian University portal is very big and has lots of options, it exists, basically it opens up in another tab for students, and they can browse the top colleges, they can browse by university courses, by exam requirements, by scholarships, and then eligibility criteria. So there's quite a lot in there. They will pick the ones that they're interested in. I'm sure many of them already have quite an idea of which colleges in India they would like to go to, possibly from family and friends. They can just research further here, and then they can go back to their short list, which is basically a small list of preferred favorites universities, and they can add them back in there. So for younger students, as I mentioned before, we have certain tools for them to get started. I understand that in this school is probably not something that we're going to focus on at the moment. So I'm going to skip on this part, but this presentation will be sent to you so you can look at it and learn a little bit more detail if you want. Now, focus, it says on the counselor, but really it means everyone that is not the student in the school, right? There are plenty of the tools and resources that you can look at and learn from, and that are going to help you not only learn how to use the platform, but also help you support your students. So I mentioned before the curriculum, right? So we have so-called, we have a guidance calendar that is basically the map for the students' curriculum for college and career counseling. You see it here, starts in grade 9, this is an ideal scenario where you have time and resources to deal with students from so early on, but I can guarantee you a lot of schools start in grade 11. So what happens is you're just going to concentrate these parts into a shorter period and maybe pick out activities that are more relevant to your student. And Bridgeo really gives you all the tools that you need to do these things, to do the strength exploration, to do the career and the subject exploration, and the university exploration and shortlist. The blue part is everything that is just exploration. The red part is when we get down to business and we start writing our applications. So in most of the cases, actually, schools that are most successful and that manage the process better will start with personal statements and recommendations letter already towards the spring period, right? Because the applications are then going to be around October, November. But there's plenty of schools that start later as well. So this is just an ideal timeline that could be followed. Now what happens is that based on this calendar, and as a school you will decide when to do what and when to deal with what, you then have plenty of other resources that you can use. So we have a task schedule, which means we decide when to assign students what kind of tasks and when is the deadline for them, so we can pace the work. Since you have these research hours in the evening, you probably will have more time to meet with the students, maybe once every week, maybe once every 2 weeks. That would be a good way to pace their work and keep the momentum, basically. Then we have resources on the help center. Now the help center is fantastic, both for students, for teachers, and for counselors, because we have plenty of country guides. So for example, if I'm interested to go to Australia, but I don't really understand much how the education system in Australia works or how the lifestyle in Australia is going to be, we have a guide for Australia as a country that has all these, the lifestyle, the education system, scholarships, opportunities, and so on. So they can start from there, take some ownership about the process, but you also can see it and be able to advise them better. And then we have lesson plans. So the lesson plans are pretty much a syllabus of career and college counseling, and I'm not 100% sure how this is going to roll out at this school, but in some schools sometimes some activities are carried out by the counselor and some others are taken on by teachers because they might be more, versed into some of these activities, for example, the strength exploration. So do take a look at them, even just to understand what kind of process of thought the students go through. So, and then we will give students tasks. So according to that task schedule, we will set tasks for students, which means we will filter out students, say, from grade 11. And for grade 11 students, we want them to start exploring the universities now, so that it's not too late next year. So we can give them, for example, the university matches task, which is the very first task. Go and check what kind of matches come up for you. Start with that. You will have within the platform a way to see the students' progress. So students in green are students that have finished their work and have been approved. Students in orange are those that have submitted their work for you to review. In blue are those that are still working on their tasks. And one thing that is really important, I did tell students today, but it's worth reminding them once in a while, is that for the platform to work, for you to be able to really track all this, they have to send those tasks for review. So they have to go back to that homepage and submit basically the assignments that you have given them for review. Right, so by the end of today, I will make sure that Arshana gets this Sorry.
Who does the review?
Who does the review? So everyone that has an advisor account in Bridgeo, for the moment, I think this is going to be Archana only, right? But that doesn't mean that you might not be involved in either helping them out with the tasks and so on. So if you could just remind them to resubmit their tasks or help Archana keeping students on track with the deadlines, that would be great. She can do the review, but you can still help to keep the momentum basically going. So I'll make sure to share this with you so that you can go and check all these resources, like the lesson plans that I mentioned, the task schedule, an example of a filled out task schedule. And then there's plenty of video guides as well. Not only on how to use the platform as an administrator, but also how to use it as a student, so you can understand better how it works for students. Right, so going forward, since I understand that all of you are completely new to Bridge U, right? You've never seen the platform before. Maybe some of you were sitting in the room today with students, so you might have seen a little bit. I don't want to be repeating too much, but I do want to give you an idea of how it looks like for students, right? So this is what they have available on there. The home page is where they see their assignments. So this is what they